just after I finished college in DCU, and I was doing a master's in film studies in UCD, myself and my friend Donal Dineen were doing a magazine called Dropout, and we had two people writing for us, and one of them wrote for the NME and one of them wrote for Melody Maker, Jim Carroll and Colm O'Callaghan, and to us they were like gods, because they were sending copy to London about music. And so we got them in and we were enthralled with them. And Colm had a proposal for a music program called No Disco. And he said, like, would you get in on it? And I was like, sure, I'll get in on it. But I had no idea what it was that he was talking about. Now, Colm told me at one stage, you're doing a voice test. And I was like, there's no way in the wide earthly world I'm doing a voice test. This face is not meant for TV, and I was so self-conscious about that, and somehow it got through, and within a week we were doing a program, you know. It was just me and Colm. Colm was the main man. Colm just like fought for everything, and I'd just turn up and get plastered in makeup. I could barely talk. I never watched it, and I could never watch it because like the edit that they'd pick could be the one where I mumbled my way through the whole thing. I mumbled my way through the first 3 years of No Disco. I don't know how anybody ever understood. There should have been subtitles. It wasn't even a proper program. It was on the back of news crews' downtime. The style of the program was really dictated by the actual lack of resources or time we had to make it. We had a certain amount of time with a news crew who would be in between news stories. Somebody could be after falling off a roof in Knocknaheeny. They'd shoot that story, they'd come down and they'd film me after falling off a roof in Father Matthew Street. And then after that, back up and do something else. So it was very quick.
How then did it become such a legendary thing?
There was nothing else on. There was nothing else on. I mean, it was totally influenced by watching Snub TV and the Tube and just seeing how kind of ramshackle their attitude was. They just chop things in and cut them out and walk around and whatever. Colm and I had a 50-50 role on the editorial, and there was an awful lot of music that I was into because I was into so much other music. And I started to ask him, could I make like little videos to go with that music? So effectively it became kind of like a radio program on the TV, which is what I always wanted. And I always wanted to get into radio. And over the 3 years that I did it, I got control editorially because Colm went back to RT in Dublin. And that meant that I was able to dictate the entire output of the program. So an awful lot of weirder stuff got in, you know. And a lot of questions used to get asked about like, what the hell is this stuff? And the more that was asked, the more determined I would be to put stuff in, you know. So
did it tend to slip under the radar in that sense, or what did it call, ruffle many feathers?
Feathers were ruffled all over the gaff. There was feathers flying everywhere.
But that was to some extent what you were trying to do, or?
But I was a very, very, very weak-willed punk, you know.
Just not the.
No, I couldn't punk my way out of a wet paper bag.
But it was in there somewhere, like.
It was in there somewhere. The spirit of like wanting to be different or break it or to break the mold. Like as I saw it, right. I really believed that like a community could build from bringing all these disparate elements together. It so happened that at the time that No Disco started, in 1992, 1993, there was also an explosion of amazing music video, and it was the first time that music was expressed in a visual way, really. And not the first time, but the first time that the record companies got in on it. Budgets were given to make amazing videos, and amazing videos started to be made. People like Radiohead, Michel Gondry, Bjork, people like that were making amazing videos. So we had this incredible content to show, and I was really happy that we were there for that. People we knew, some people we knew, Eamon Crudden was one of them, Donal Scannell, other people started to make videos for bands that they liked, and a new thing happened. where we'd start to get videos every week where somebody had just put together a video. Like the Palace Brothers sent in a video, and the video was of a black bag snagged on the River Ohio, and it was one shot of a black plastic bag snagged on the River Ohio, and it's still my favorite video. It's just American like beauty. It's beauty, American Beauty in a kind of a rubbish disposal way, but like that was the kind of thing that was like. It began then to generate its own momentum when it came to people feeding the program. I just discovered that once you create a platform and there's people that are talented enough to like perform or to be on that platform, all boats rise. And No Disco was one of those examples where, you know, within the first couple of seasons there was an improvement in the quality of the program from programming, an improvement in the quality of the music we were getting from Ireland, and in general I could feel that it was having an effect, and the effect was good, you know. No Disco continued, and it continued with another brilliant presenter who we tragically lost, called Donal Dineen. The tragedy of her loss is something I feel every day. And then Leagues O'Toole took over. And it lasted so long, and then other examples came along, and then it stopped. There's music TV now, and it definitely serves a purpose. And there's platforms, and there are areas where people can go, but there's not enough places where people can go. Radio has effectively closed its doors to new music. New music is anathema to the idea of commercial radio. And commercial radio rules the roost. It's the lowest common denominator, and it's everywhere. And it's not just the same type of music, it's the same bloody Coldplay song that you hear the whole way across your dial. The way playlisting has gone and the strict way it operates has dulled the palate of the listener. And there's so many disenfranchised people of our age, and then beneath us there's a generation who know nothing about what's out there, you know? They're not directed towards those places. There's no coordinated platforms. There's no curated programs. It's just you are your own DJ, and I love that idea of that liberty, of that, the liberation of being able to make up your own playlist and to be your own DJ. I love that idea. But there should be, and there ought to be, always room for somewhere that's curated to a point that will give people the confidence to trust in something. It's a golden generation for Irish music. There's so many people who are operating, who put their life and their soul into something, and it's worth so much, and their heart into something. And there's no real central point gathering everybody to that, drawing their attention to that. And it needs to be done, because we're going to lose a whole generation of musicians, and we're going to lose them to other countries, and we're going to lose them to other jobs because they cannot sustain themselves. And the amount of people that I've encountered who've made amazing things, and it lasts for 3 or 4 days in the cloud. There's some kind of like, you know, interest for a while, and then it just dissipates, and then it just disappears, and it's gone. And where does it go? It's like, it's so hard to pick up from that point again. And I'd really love to be in a position where I think that we should be trying to encourage artists to come together. And I think that if No Disco gets the chance to come back, one of its reasons for doing that is that I think that we would have the power to just say, A, you come to B, and C, you come to D, and E, you come to F, and see what E and F and C and D and A and B make together, you know? And like, again, like what I said before, in those circumstances, all boats rise. Historically, since the very beginning of radio, there's been like a lot of power in the appreciator, the person who appreciates, and the person who can see connections between different things, and the person who can make those connections obvious, and the person who can direct the person who likes this thing towards the other thing. And then not just for the consumer, But also, also for the artist involved, right? I think it's really important for the artist to feel they've got a place where they can explain themselves, or they've got a place to reason what it is they're doing. Because if you can reason what it is you're doing, and if you can get a good response in that respect, it can improve your work, you know? Whereas now it feels like great artists don't get to talk about their work. It's really valid, beautiful, incredible music, and they're doing that to the maximum of their ability. And I think by having a platform or a place where you can showcase that, and you can compare it to something else, and you can give them a chance to explain what it is they're feeling or what it is they're saying,
Collaborate.
that gives them the power to go back and to improve upon it. And it's a really important thing, you know. And I just believe in this idea that music is storytelling, you know. And we've been doing it for ages. We've been doing it since the first time we were banging on drums and we were hitting sticks and all of those things. And I think that, like, if we get the artists talking to each other and if we get them moving together and collaborating, I think we're going to give it a better chance to kind of give it more life, you know. And the more life we give it, the better it's going to get. At the minute, we're going to try and make a program where we test out that theory of taking one artist to another and letting them collaborate and seeing how that collaboration works and feeding the collaboration and just kind of like, you know, giving them the opportunity and also fueling that opportunity, and then as well as that, trying to discover as much as possible those people who are hidden in bedrooms and lofts and back spaces and in the boots of cars making music, and expose that stuff.
So you know them all already. Just bring them into the one room, no?
Yeah. Most of them are at the bottom of that canal. And if it all fails, we can just come up and throw cans at the swans.